Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition here on the NE Patriots Talk channel. And today, me and Dustin will be discussing day one of the first day of mandatory minicamp. It's officially mandatory minicamp. We're already on to phase 3 of the off season. So, how are we doing today, Dustin?
I'm doing pretty good. It got off work a little while ago, probably about 3 hours ago now. Once I got off, I started looking at some of the interviews and stuff on YouTube. Looking at the interview for like Mike Vrabel, looking at some of our players like Barmore, Demario Douglas, Milton Williams, seeing how getting their perspective on how like training camp's going, how they're fitting into the system, how everybody's looking. And from what I've read, from what I've heard, I'm just getting more and more encouraged with this team. I'm liking what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing. It's still mini camp. We gotta wait until like actual training camp before we really know for sure what this team has. But I'm loving what I'm seeing so far.
Exactly. And as usual, as you come into the show, guys, please make sure that you like this stream and you hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps support the channel. And as you come in, please make sure that you post in your questions and your comments so that we can at least read them and apply them to our discussions. But let's cut to the chase and let's discuss some of the main important keynotes from today's takeaway. So before we get started, we're going to talk about who is present and who did not participate or absent. So the players who were absent or who didn't participate today were Matt Collins, Wes Schweitzer, Tyrese Robinson, Jelani Tavai, coming from that injury that he had during day 3 of when media was like open for OTAs. And then we have Miles Battle, who did not participate. Those who returned, however, were Travion Williams, Kendrick Bourne, Anthony Jennings, Carlton Davis, and Marcus Jones. Out of those lists who returned, the key player that we're gonna have to keep an eye on throughout mandatory minicamp is gonna be Carlton Davis, considering that he is coming back from a jaw injury. So, what are your thoughts on Carlton Davis's return to practice after not showing up for OTAs because of that jaw injury?
I'm excited to see what he has. I know I've read something from Taylor Kyles that he has posted here on X or Twitter, however you want to say it, with Drake May saying he's not afraid to test our new corner, our first round pick corner with Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez. He's definitely going to be testing them out, seeing how their coverage is. But I'm not too worried. It'll be definitely a little bit more of a worry if it was something like a foot injury or maybe like a hand injury or something like that. I don't know how really a jaw injury is really going to impact him as far as like recovery wise, getting onto the field and whatnot. I'm glad he's definitely doing better though, but I'm not too worried. I'm excited to see what he has. It's refreshing to see we have a solid number 2 corner that's going to be paired up with Christian Gonzalez, especially for like the duo receivers out there like your Tyreek Hills and Jalen Waddles, your T. Higgins and your Jamar Chases. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how those two pair against like teams with those 2 top receivers, like your solid number 1s and 2s. I'm excited to see what he brings to the team.
As long as he stays healthy, because we know in the past that, especially with the Buccaneers and the Lions, that he has dealt with injuries throughout his entire career. So I'm just hoping and praying that he has like a full season to go up against that kind of competition. And those who were limited during practice today were Stephon Diggs, no surprise because of that knee injury. We had Jalen Polk, who I think he had a concussion last season. I don't know. Vidarian Lowe, Mike Onwenu because of the hand injury, recovering from that. Jared Wilson, Jaqueline Roy, and Wilfred Penne. And that is our attendance for day 1 of Patriots mandatory minicamp. And so let's start with the quarterback. So it was reported that Drake May threw the ball. He completed passes for like 14 out of 18 times. Joshua Dobbs completed for like 9 out of 13. Only 1 interception, which was picked off by Isaiah Bolden. And Ben Fuldridge completed for only 1 out of 4. So what are your thoughts on the quarterbacks? And is there like any improvement from all these quarterbacks?
As far as from what I'm seeing from notes that I've gathered on through X again, my go-to guy being Taylor Kyles. He's like my go-to when it comes to like Patriots news. Him and Mike Cadlick. Some notes that he put down right here that I'm reading off of. Drake May had an impressive throws on two sails to pop, and anticipatory curl to Booty, which I heard it was like I think it was a bit of a contested catch with Booty too, and he came down with it. I could be wrong on that. And using a pump to the flag to get Henry wide open on a crosser. And he seems pretty comfortable from what I'm seeing and hearing. He's not forcing any passes, especially in the red zone. From what I'm hearing, he was pretty accurate. He wasn't forcing anything too recklessly. He was going for his progressions. He was making the right reads. He wasn't doing anything that he didn't need to do. And I mean, his receivers definitely helped him out. I'm seeing a couple things, especially from when we get to the receivers, of course, with Kyle Williams, his big play being to play of the game. But Dobbs, I do remember one play. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh yeah, it was from Dobbs actually that Kyle Williams caught. I am glad we have a more solidified veteran back there. I mean, Jacoby Brissett was definitely a decent veteran for Drake May to have, but Josh Dobbs has been around like a lot more. At least I'm pretty sure a lot more than Jacoby Brissett has. He's definitely gonna be that reliable second option. Ben Woodridge, we'll see what we got from him. I'm really not expecting too much from him. I'm expecting like them treating him like they treated like Joe Milton, like seeing what they get out of him and maybe like develop him a little bit, maybe get a little flashes out of him, maybe get a pick out of him or something. That's kind of what I'm getting from Ben Woodridge, if I'm saying his name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. But yeah, from what I'm feeling, it's probably just going to be Drake May and Josh Dobbs unless something, God forbid, something really bad happens to both of them and they need to send Ben Woodridge out there.
Yeah, I would say that with the quarterbacks, I felt like in a mandatory minicamp, I felt like they improved a lot compared to what they did in OTAs because we know OTAs is more of like experimenting plays and see to get used to the ball since they haven't played football in like a while. So I just felt like compared to what they did in OTAs to what they're doing now in mandatory minicamp, it's actually a huge progression, I gotta say, because Drake May went from like 4 interceptions during first day of mandatory of OTAs, excuse me, to no turnovers, which was really impressive. However, it was also reported that Drake May was under a lot of pressure because we know that the defensive lineman gave him a lot of hell, I would say. So
yeah, I mean, we got a lot of new guys in that building. I mean, we got Milton Williams, first of all, that our big signing, our big guy, our probably our number one is going to be there. We got him, we got Keon White, we got Harold Landry, a lot of these guys that are just specialists when it comes to getting to the pass rush. And honestly, you got to remember, we're not allowed to do much contact right now. So I mean, yeah, it does limit the D line as far as getting pressure, but also limits the O line. Like they're not able to really get their hands on them too much to push them out of the way or get them where they needed to go. So it does kind of limit both sides. We do got to remember that it is mini camp. It's not training camp. Not a whole lot of contact is allowed right now. But yeah, it is a little concerning that Drake May was under some pressure. But I mean, he was under it last year, and it was under a lot more last year, and he handled it pretty well with the additions that we got with Garrett Bradbury at center, Morgan Moses at right tackle, and our new left tackle and Will Campbell. I'm once they get gelled together and they get through training camp and actually able to get the pads on and actually able to play the way they need to, I think they'll settle in. I think they'll get the hang of it, and I think they'll be good come week 1 for the regular season.
Yeah, we'll discuss the offensive line later throughout the show, but let's quickly head over to the running backs. And I gotta say that the rookie running backs looked extremely impressive. And it was reported per Taylor Kyles that if I could find it, that One, your guy Len Larison scored on a wheel versus undrafted Cam Riley in the low RZ, and then it was also reported that Travion Henderson beat out Christian Ellis on an angle route in one of the plays. So, what are your thoughts on like the rookie running backs and how they could gel in the Josh McDaniels offense?
We know what Josh McDaniels like to do with these running backs. He likes running backs by committee. He doesn't like to do just a 1 or 2 combo. And a lot of these plays that I'm seeing, a lot of these guys are going to have like their own special roles on that offense. Of course, you got Ramondre Stevenson, who's going to be, I'm not going to say your bell cow, but he's going to be kind of like your, I guess you can kind of say like your lead horse a little bit. Land Larison, I mean, yeah, he's my guy. I am just in love with what this guy can do. I continuously go back to his highlights because I'm just that dang impressed with how he plays. The wheel route versus Cam Riley, obviously, I think Cam Riley is like our second string slot guy. I think I could be wrong on that. So I mean, he's obviously not going up against first string, but it's still showing that he's got the ability, considering he came in as an undrafted free agent and he's able to make plays like this. It's definitely impressive. And of course, you got your guy Travion Henderson, which of course, I mean, he's just a dog coming out of I'm already drawing a blank on Ohio State, if I'm remembering correctly. He's definitely been a dog. I'm excited for what these running backs can do as far as what Josh McDaniels is going to be able to draw up for him, all the plays, all the different tricks that Josh is going to have up his sleeve, and not just in the running game, but short passes too. It's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, even though that these players are still not in pads, that's for sure. But so far, they've been looking well without pads. But when it comes to training camp, let's just see how well these young rookie running backs perform with pads on, because we all know that once you can put on these pads, you got to make sure that there's enough progression compared to what they do in mandatory minicamp and OTAs. But let's now head over to the wide receiver room. And I gotta say, there's a lot to say about the wide receiver room. And I got a couple of clips here from CLNS Media and per Mike Reese about like some of these impressive techniques for all of these young wide receivers. And the most important wide receiver, even though like Efton Chisholm, who has been the main focal point throughout OTAs, even though he's somewhat have like a quiet day for when it comes to reps, at least he was involved with some of like these practices. And if I have like a clip from Mike Reese, if I can like pull it out, I know that he was focusing on some of the techniques, and I gotta say, some of his techniques have been really impressive with his route running. So what are your thoughts on Efton Chisholm in spite of like with not the amount of production, but with this technique so far?
I am really loving what I'm seeing. This is the one that I actually have pulled up as well. It's from a different angle, but just seeing the way he cuts his routes. It's just like that quick stop and go. He doesn't lose much of his speed. He's just like stop and go. He's definitely an interesting guy to watch. I'm trying to keep myself a little more reeled back though, because as Evan Lazar quoted it, they're not in pads yet. We need to see how he does in pads before we can really say for sure if he's going to be a factor on this offense if he even makes a roster. But from what I've seen from this clip right here that you have that I'm also watching as well, and from some of the other things I've seen throughout OTAs, he's definitely got the route running down. He's got some explosiveness. I'm pretty sure I've seen a good play or two where he's actually been able to not fake some guys out, but able to get some solid separation. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this guy has and what he can do in pads.
Correct. And I'm also excited for Efton Chisholm, even though he was an undraftee out of Eastern Washington. What he has proved time after time again through OTAs and minicamp, now minicamp without pads on, I just felt like that's really impressive. And we know as Patriots fans, we tend to like hype up some of these wide receivers in the past, and we know how what the outcome was during the regular season. So
And
we're
also
not going to be.
one other thing I do want to add, as we've heard throughout OTAs and stuff, this guy has been like the favorite target of any quarterback he's been with. And I'm sure as much as I know we all want to forget, we remember all the drops that our receivers have had throughout the past regular season. This guy, I don't think he's had a drop yet. I don't think I've heard of him having one drop at all through any of training or OTAs or anything. He's just been that guy. He has shown out. He has been that security blanket. Of course, the explosive and hands. I mean, it's the bare minimum a receiver needs, but considering our look of receivers lately, it's been a dream come true.
Yeah. And I just felt like during OTAs, we know that Efton Chisholm surprisingly is playing with the starters. I felt like when you play with the starters just proves that even though you were like in a smaller competition as the FCS, was like somewhat of a smaller competition for Efton Chisholm, he still panned out even though it was a smaller competition. And the fact that you're playing with the first team, the starters, it just shows that he could be a baller. He's proving that he could make one of these wide receivers who are currently like the number one slot receiver, which is DeMar Douglas. He could be looking in the inside out, and so or the outside looking in. So I just felt like if Efton Chisholm performs really well in pads and performs well during the preseason games, he could potentially make the 53-man roster. And if he balls out in these crucial games, especially in games where it's in the mud right now, he could potentially be like a Pro Bowler for us.
Potentially. We still got to see how he is in pads, but I do get the hype. I'm feeling the hype as well, but we do need to remember there's no pads yet. And even if he doesn't make this, I mean, I would hate to see him not make this roster, but even if he doesn't make this roster, I know for sure there's going to be a team that's going to pick him up that's going to be able to utilize him in some way, shape, or form.
Correct.
Like your San Fran's with Brock Purdy and the coach's name is already slipping my mind.
Kyle Shanahan?
Kyle Shanahan, yeah, I know he could get some kind of utilization out of him. I feel like he could thrive in an offense like that.
Yeah. Besides drops, another issue that wide receivers had was also separation. And we all know that last year, separation was the biggest issue. And Kyle Williams is back at it again, even though he didn't have like a solid day, I would say, on day 3. He had more like a quiet day on day 3 of OTAs. At least he balled out during the first day of mandatory minicamp. So what are your thoughts on Kyle Williams so far and how he could be a huge contributor to the wide receiver room?
I haven't got a chance to find a clip yet. Maybe you'll be able to find it at some point. But from the reports I've read, he's made the play of the game, or play of the day, where it was Dawes being the quarterback. He had caught a 50-yard bomb in the red zone down the middle of the field versus the Tampa 2 coverage. It just got like a straight down the middle, was able to beat I forget who it was he beat. I'm not seeing here exactly. I know there was somebody like close to him. I can't remember exactly who, but there was somebody he was able to beat and get into the end zone. And he also caught a back shoulder fade. I'm loving what I'm seeing from this guy. He's gotten the separation down. Obviously, he's probably our best separator out of his entire receiving room so far. If you don't count guys like Chisholm, or maybe once we see him, maybe Stephon Diggs will have that explosiveness to get some separation as well. But I'm loving what I'm hearing and seeing from Kyle Williams so far. I'm excited.
Yeah, I just hope that we all know what happens when it comes to drafting wide receivers, and like whenever it comes to like day 1 and day 2, they don't perform up to their potential. So I'm just hoping and praying that when Kyle Williams puts on the pads, he would be extremely impressive in training camp and preseason, but mainly importantly, the regular season, if he can make the 53-man roster. And another player that I wanted to take a look at, who could potentially be on the outside looking in, is Kendrick Bourne. And we all know that based on his performance last season, we all thought that Kendrick Bourne could potentially be like a cut candidate for the Patriots. So it was reported that Kendrick Bourne had a should-be touchdown from Drake May at the back of the end zone, but was unable to get his feet in. Kendrick Bourne had 3 catches on the day. So what are your thoughts on Kendrick Bourne?
I would hate to see him go, but he definitely would be one of those receivers on the outside looking in. I mean, when the main selling point on keeping him here prior to like the offseason and all was the fact that he was like our veteran guy. He was our veteran receiver. He could have been the mentor to our guys. But now you got guys like Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins in the room that can also teach these guys. Also, obviously, the coaching staff's been revamped. I don't feel like Kendrick Bourne really has much more that he can offer right now. I think he's like 32 now or 31. He's coming off an injury. I would hate to see him go. He's been a fan favorite, he's been a fan favorite, yes, but he's been one of my favorites throughout the entire time he's been in New England. With the talent we got now in this receiving room, I would be surprised to hear if he stays on this roster. If he can have a bounce back somewhere in training camp where he shows he can belong, then awesome. I'm all for it. But if he doesn't start doing something in some of these camps or showing us a flash of something of his old self, I wouldn't be surprised if he could possibly be a cut candidate or probably a cut candidate. I don't see him being traded at all. So yeah.
Yeah, especially that if he doesn't perform well under Josh McDaniels, considering that he had one of his best seasons under Josh McDaniels. So if he doesn't perform to that level, then he could potentially be a cut candidate, because we all know that last season, similar to Stephon Diggs did suffer the same injury that Kendrick Bourne suffered in 2023. The only difference was Kendrick Bourne was on the PUP list for the majority of the offseason and the first 4 games of the season, compared to Stephon Diggs, who has been recovering for a bit and has been working out amid some of the bowl controversy, which we won't get into. But I know that there's a couple of clips of Stephon Diggs mentoring wide receivers, and I think I saw a comment from Thomas saying that Diggs looked good at the minicamp, and he's even teaching the wide receivers out during the drills. That's our wide receiver 1 right there. Maybe our captain of the 2025 campaign. What are your thoughts on Stephon Diggs potentially being one of our captains for the Patriots?
I think it's definitely a possibility. I mean, one of the clips that comes off the top of my head was him working with Jalen Polk. I think it's like doing like push-offs when coming up like maybe on man press, and like getting off press coverage. Just seeing him trying to work with I've seen him mostly with Jalen Polk. I think I've seen him a couple times with Kayshon Boutte, but he's definitely taken on more of that mentorship role, which is something I was kind of scared on to see if he was actually going to, because we know how Diggs has been in the past. Whereas, like, if he's not getting the ball or if he's not getting the attention, he's kind of a bit of a diva with all that. But, I mean, so far, he's definitely been that guy that's been teaching these guys up. It could be possible with this injury and his age. Maybe he's still in his age. He might be realizing, like, he doesn't have a whole lot left in the tank. Maybe he's, like, coming to terms, like, maybe I need to start maturing a little bit more and actually showing some of these young guys how to actually play in this league and how they can perform at a very high level. I mean, he's been on the sidelines, coaching them up, trying to like encourage people, showing them what they need to do. I don't know about captain yet, but it definitely wouldn't surprise me if he keeps going the way he is right now and he stays out of any media attention with like how he has been recently. But so far, if he keeps it the way it is, keeps all the utter noise out, it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I just hope and pray, because I was one of the guys who was not a huge fan of Stephon Diggs because of whatever the heck that happened in Minnesota and Buffalo. But if because the biggest worry was after that both video, we all worried that since he didn't show up to like the first 2 days of OTAs, we we understand they were voluntary, but we worried that if he didn't show it to OTAs or minicamp, that we would have issues. Surprisingly, if he continues to attend to all of the practices from there on out, especially during minicamp and training camp, we shouldn't have these problems. And especially with how well he's been working with the wide receiver room, we shouldn't be surprised that he could be the captain of the group, as long as he's not like, calling out Drake May and, becoming a locker room cancer for the team.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs to stay away from all these. I'm not gonna say he needs to not have fun. I mean, obviously he's one of the top receivers in the league. He's gotten his contract. I mean, he's gonna have fun. All players are gonna have fun on some level or shape or form. But it's like Mike Vrabel said, they just need to make smart decisions. Just make smart decisions. Don't attract like unnecessary attention. Do your job, perform, show up when you need to show up, and everything will be good. If you start bringing in unnecessary noise, then start need to have those talks. If it continues, then some disciplinary actions are probably going to be taken in.
Exactly. So let's head over to the tight ends. So there was nothing much with the tight ends other than Drake May passing a ball to Henry in the wide open on a crosser. But other than that, there was nothing much from the tight end room regarding that. CJ Dupree did make one drop, and one drop doesn't hurt, but if it was like consistent, there could potentially be issues, and CJ Dupree wouldn't be in the category. But so let's head over to the offensive line, and we all know that the offensive line was a huge question mark coming into the offseason. So the lineup during today's minicamp was it was Campbell at left tackle, Strange at left guard, Bradbury at center, Sidiso at right guard, and Morgan Moses at right tackle, because Morgan Moses is currently recovering from that hand injury, which is why he didn't play for why he didn't fully participate in today's practice. So what are your thoughts on that lineup so far?
I mean, it's definitely a decent lineup. I mean, they're gonna be testing other lineup or different formations in a sense. I mean, you got to see what you have with all your guys. You got to see what each person brings, what position they excel at the most. Seeing if you can teach these guys up. I know left guard is gonna be probably our biggest concern with Cole Strange right now looking to be the guy, at least as far as I know. You got like Cole Strange, you got City. So those are the main two guys that I can think of off the top of my head. Tyrese Robinson. I mean, it's a pretty good lineup right now. We're not really going to be able to know too much until we got the pads on and we can see them actually be physical. I know I've heard a lot of Will Campbell working on with Keon White, or having the matchups with Keon White, and he's been holding his own pretty well against him, which is definitely very good considering Keon White's kind of been our go-to guy when it comes to the pass rush. Him being able to hold Keon White off, who's had, I think this is now his third year in the league, so he's had plenty of experience in the league so far. He's holding his own pretty well. I'll be keeping my eyes on him. So far, he hasn't shown anything where he couldn't perform. A lot of the players really like what he brings. The coaches really like what he's bringing. They like his effort. They like his grit. They like his skill set. But until we get the pads on to see exactly how they handle the contact, we just won't really know for sure.
Yeah, we know that the left guard position heading into the draft, it could be like a sneaky position because there's so much unknown with the left guard position. And I remember, I'm going to say this one more time, I was really disappointed we didn't come away with a left guard or even do anything during the undrafted free agency period. But if Cole Strange doesn't perform at left guard, considering that we drafted him to be our starting left guard, who in the free agency would be available that we could take to be our starting left guard?
That I'm not sure. I haven't really looked too much as far as interior offensive linemen, or really any linemen. I'd have to actually do some research on that myself. I really didn't even think about doing anything like that. But I really hope Cole Strange can hopefully get his health right and he can start performing better. Maybe show that first round talent that we drafted him at. I think it was pick 29 or 26 that we got him at. I do wish we would have gotten something in the draft. It was probably the one thing that I was really disappointed in as far as the draft and free agency, and obviously the after draft free agency. They didn't do really nothing there. It's not all going to be done in one off season. I mean, they did way more than I would have expected for us to do in one off season. I mean, this is a whole new team, guys. This is a whole new team, and we got. I mean, yeah, we had the cap space to do it, but you also got to remember there's only so many players we can go after. I mean, not every single player is going to be in free agency, but if they can carry this over into the next off season, or maybe if there's some more free agents they can bring in, if they just keep on that build, this team is going to be a force for the next few years. I'd give it at least another year or two before this team really has that foundation and is really like that team. They're always going back to that team that we once were back in like the 2000s to 2010s.
So I'm gonna add it to my notes for next year's offseason, unless somehow, some way, Ryan Cadden and Elliott will randomly finds a left guard and plug him in over Cole Strange, because as far as we know, we did not give a 5th-year option or an extension to Cole Strange, and I kind of like that because Cole Strange, unfortunately, he doesn't have the durability that he has compared to all the other left guards in the league, like your Joe Tooney's. Yeah.
I do have the list. I do have the list here real quick, or at least some. I don't know if this list is updated for sure. Actually, I don't think this is an updated list. I'll have to do. Okay, wait. Here's some people. There's Will Fries, Kevin Zeitler, Mekhi Becton. Yeah, apparently he's a free agent. At least if this list is correct, I don't know if it's.
I think Will Fries is with the Vikings now, and then Zeitler's with the Titans, and then that other guy, Mekhi Becton, he's with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to do some digging. I didn't really think to check for free agents as far as guards. Because I mean, I'm honestly not really expecting to bring anybody in. At least not at this point. We're getting so far within mini camps. I mean, it looks far away for us right now. But before we know it, right around the corner, training camp's going to be here. I don't know unless Cole Strange goes down with another injury and we just maybe somebody else gets hurt or sick and we have to bring somebody in. I don't really see us doing anything as far as like bringing in any more free agents.
Yeah, I wouldn't say if Layden Robinson could be like your left guard, but we know what's Layden Robinson's performance looked like last season. It wasn't all that impressive, so that's my only other worry. And then we know City, so he didn't perform that much last season. So it was also reported in the offensive line category that Will Campbell and Keon White continue to have their fair share in their one-on-one reps, and yeah, they both have their share of wins. So, and we all know that the weakness for Will Campbell during college was going up against these type of edge rushers that is like Keon White. So I like the way that they practice. What are your thoughts on that 1-1 matchup?
Yeah, I mean, not every player is going to be perfect coming out of the draft. They're going to have your strengths and weaknesses. For the Patriots to do what they're doing right now, matching up Will Campbell with someone that is his weakness is going to help him a lot. It's going to help him grow and develop to where that weakness isn't so much weakness come up this regular season. Is it going to do it all in this during training camp? No, it's not. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, we're not going to have it completely done in a way where we don't have to worry about it. But I mean, just getting as many reps as he can with Keon White to kind of help him get better and improve more. Keon White can give him some insight on like, okay, you're doing something this way. If you're doing it this way, this is how I would counter it. So maybe you should do something this way to help beat that counter so you don't get beat this way. It's just like giving them each some fair share of knowledge that they have for each other, and iron sharpens iron. That's the best way you can say it. Iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm. It's the same way that how the Lions are doing it with Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson. So that's the similar composition I can give you. But let's now head over to the defense. And as I alluded to, that we would eventually talk about the defense earlier in the stream. But we all know that the defensive line was causing issues for Drake May, often under pressure. And it was reported that the two people that had sacks were Jason and Kyrie's Tonga, and we all know that these two are more potentially going to be like your rotational guys, Jason and Tonga.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much to say on that because again, we don't have pads. Not everybody's going to be able to show their all as both offense and defensive linemen. But we also got to remember the strength of our team is probably going to be our defense. Our defense is what has more the talent and veteran presence. Our team's going to run through our defense. Drake May is still a second-year guy. He's going into sophomore year. We still got quite a few. We got talented guys in the receiver room, but they're also young. We got to remember that. And also Stephon Diggs still having his injury he's working through. Running backs, a lot of those guys are young. Our offensive line, a lot of them are new. I mean, our whole team is new, but I feel like we have a lot more talent on our proven talent, I should say, on our defense than we do our offense. Our offense still has gotta mesh. It's gotta get in the groove. It's gotta get where it needs to go, and it's not something that's gonna happen overnight. I mean, I'm expecting us to be more of a defensive style team, but don't be surprised if our offense to really not make some plays. Obviously, they're going to, but our defense is definitely going to be what leads the way for our team this year. And to hear that our defense was giving our offense some trouble today, it does kind of leave me with a little hope. Like, okay, we're getting some of our roots back. We're getting that top, maybe not top tier defense, but we can probably be at least a top 10 at bare minimum to see a top 10 defense right now.
Yeah, based on how well the defense has been performing throughout OTAs and minicamp so far, even though it's day one of minicamp, we got to see how well they perform tomorrow. But as far as we know, the defense has looked a lot better, and they're like back to like somewhat like their 2022 or 2021 form, I would say. But I just gotta say, they went back to I would say back to normal, but I would say that they looked a lot better compared to how they performed last season, considering coaching was an issue. And we all know that the coaching was the issue for the defense, less so much on, even though the player personnel could also play into a factor on why the defense didn't perform up to their potential. But so there was nothing for the linebackers. However, for the cornerbacks, Isaiah Bolden make that interception onto Dobbs. And then for pass breakups, it was one from Carlton Davis and another one from Isaiah Bolden. The thing with Isaiah Bolden, we're going to definitely talk, you, me, Andy, and Austin would potentially talk about this in a secondary live stream. But what are your thoughts on Bolden, considering that he was their seventh round pick? He had that scary injury against the Packers in the preseason, and we all know we caught him, and then we brought him back through the practice squad. So what are your thoughts on Isaiah Bolden?
I mean, so I don't really have a whole lot to say on him right now. He's definitely making some plays. He's definitely trying to make the plays. He's trying to show out. He's trying to show he belongs on his team. It's just going to be a matter of consistency. Can he continue to make plays, and can he stay healthy? Is injuries going to continue to plague him through his NFL career, or is this going to be like maybe a one-time thing? Maybe he has another injury later on down the line. It's not as scary, but I don't really have a whole lot to say on him. It's just a matter of seeing if he can continue consistent playmaking skills.
Yeah, and then let's head over. And then for the safeties, there was nothing much really. The only two pass breakups were from Del Pettis, who was last year's undrafted rookie, and then Josh Minkins, another undrafted rookie. These are just like your depth at this point because there's so much talent. There's so much talent in the safety room, as far as we know.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you really honestly want to hear. You want to hear your depth guys making these plays. I mean, if you hear your depth guys are making some plays, then you know you got your solid backups for if maybe you need to do some rotations or maybe someone needs to come out for a little bit. Maybe he's a little bit banged up, and like maybe your Jabril Peppers or your Kyle Duggars is a little bit banged up and needs some rest. You can put somebody else out there for a little bit. Or like your Carlton Davis, maybe he's showing like he might be having a bit of a scare for another injury, and you put somebody else out there to fill him in for a little bit so he can kind of recover a bit. It's nice to have that depth to just know you can put guys in when you need them. You got to have that next man up mentality, or you're gonna fall on your face coming like going in for the middle of the season, like going in like week 8, week 9, week 10. Your players have been playing for a while. They're getting worn down a little bit. They're kind of getting that fatigue, especially if you get like I don't remember how many games where we have like maybe our 4-day weeks where like you're playing on Sunday and then going on Thursday. But
Yeah,
it's just nice that you have that depth and they're actually showing out, so you're not as worried. We'll know for sure more when training camp gets here, but it is nice to see that they are trying to be consistent.
100%. And we obviously want to see our depth players performing well, and they could potentially be like your starters. And we could keep some of these starters or trade away some of these starters for some needy teams to get draft capital out of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, last but not least, we have our special teams. And interestingly enough, both of our kickers, Borgales and Romo, were all perfect today, ranging from 33 to 48 yards in field goals. What are your thoughts on both of our kickers being perfect on the day?
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jesus, thank you. Like, oh my goodness. That's probably the one thing that a lot of people probably look overlooking, including myself. Like we don't really think of it, even though New England has had a lot of our like big wins, like our Super Bowl wins, our AFC Championship wins, off of kicks, off of your Gostkowskis, off of your Vinatieri's. Like you need a good kicker in this league to be able to win those clutch games. Like, can you think of how many games at the top of your head that we probably could have won last season if we just had a good kicker that could have got a field goal? That could have got a field goal in. I'm pretty sure the Seattle game we probably could have won if we had a good kick on, or like some of our games later on down the road. I mean, we just know that we have 2 kickers right now that are actually perfect so far. It's pretty cool. We need to see how they do in some like weather conditions. Obviously, I want to see how they do if the wind picks up, maybe a little bit in the rain, and in the cold. Because I think it was Borgales that we got off. What was it? Florida State, I believe.
I think it was through University of Miami.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere down there in Florida. But if he can perform, because I'm pretty sure he was nearly perfect all throughout college, if I remember looking at his stats correctly.
Yeah, I think it was somewhat perfect or close to being perfect, but throughout OTAs, Borgales has been like close to perfect. He was like throughout when the media was available for OTAs, I think Borgales went for like 11 out of 12, while Roma went for like, I don't know, 9 out of 12, I would say. But at least it's a huge improvement from Joey Sly and Chad Ryland, because I say we haven't had a solid kicker since we traded away Nick Folk, which I think was the big mistake on Belichick's end. But then again,
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, before we conclude this live stream, we did talk about some of the interviews throughout press conferences, and was there anything like interesting throughout all of the players, even Mike Vrabel's press conferences, that struck you?
The one thing I do, maybe not too much that strikes me, but I did like hearing from Barmore himself saying, "I'm good to go. I've got the green light. I'm feeling good." It's nice to hear from him that he's feeling good, that he feels he's ready to go, that he can perform out there, especially with that scare he had with the blood clots. I know hearing from Drake May where he was honest, saying he was shaking a little bit coming into like the start of the off season. He needed that time to get those reps in to kind of settle in a little bit, and then now he's feeling he's getting it, that he's getting the process right, that he's actually making the right decisions. Let's see, is there anything else that I can think of at the top of my head? There was something from Demario Douglas that I do. Oh yeah, how Demario Douglas has been hitting up guys like your Julian Edelmans to see how they played in the slot, considering how Demario Douglas is our main slot guy. Been talking to guys like him. I believe he's also reached out to Kobe Myers too, trying to get some tips and pointers from them on how to continue to improve and get better. So that's definitely a great thing to see as well.
Yeah, I another point that I think you mentioned this too is that how you said that Drake May has been tested by Christian Gonzalez, considering that you have one first rounder going up against another first rounder.
Yeah, that he was not going to be afraid to test him. He's not going to be afraid to throw their way. If he sees a player he wants to throw to, but Gonzalez is on him, he's not going to be afraid to throw that ball. He's gonna test Gonzalez. He's gonna test Davis. He's gonna test that secondary. Now that he's starting to get comfortable and now he's starting to figure out this offense, granted he still needs a little bit more time, but he is getting there. He's not not afraid. He's done said it. He's not afraid to test them. And I love that. Iron sharpens iron. I love that. I love that mentality.
I love that phrase too. And another point, and this is from Mike Vrabel's press conference, and I love some of his quotes from his press conference, considering that he's this is per Mark Daniels, and it was reported that Mike Vrabel says that he continues to encourage Drake May to develop as a leader. We've seen Drake May leading his offense last season, regardless of the crappy coaching staff that he had. But with under Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, I think that he could potentially be our captain for the Patriots moving forward. And then it was also reported that he said on Stephon Diggs, on his presence being here, he said that he's engaged and I like his energy. And that's what you really want to hear from a coach, because we all know in the past that you're not going to get like a clear message from your head coaches, like from Drawn Mate or Bill Belichick.
Obviously. I mean, they're not going to reveal too much. Obviously, you're not going to want them to reveal too much, but he is liking Diggs. He's loving what Drake May's done. He's talked about how he needs to get more involved with Drake May's process, or like Drake May's development, and help him develop more into that leader. He also talked a little bit about Demario Douglas. I can't remember everything he said, but he said something along the lines like how he loves his attitude, he loves the way he plays, he loves his mentality, he loves what he brings.
I think I have a video from. Let me see if I can. I think I'll. No, that's not the one. This is the one. And I can share this. And this is from Mike Vrabel on Demario Douglas. He said that he had like a smile when he said that. Let's see what he had to say.
Well, I love the person. I love his attitude. I love his spirit.
Oh, my mistake.
He loves to practice. He loves to play this game. He loves football. That shows. I think he's gotten better. I think there's moving him around different places. And he's picked up everything that we've asked him to do. So that the more that he understands, the more we give him. And so I'm excited to see where he continues to be and continue to grow.
I love that. I love the comment from Mike.
You could see it on his face. Like, you can see him trying to like kind of bring back that smile a little bit. But when he talking about Douglas, you can see that smile on his face a little bit, which is an amazing thing to see. I know I've been kind of a little more like off on Demario Douglas just because of like some of his injuries he's had in the past. But if he can continue to show out and he can continue to, if he works on himself, continues to stay healthy and is able to improve his durability where that's not so much of a problem anymore, then by all means, I'd love to see him like continue to be on the Patriots for 5-10 years, however much longer he has in the league. I would love to see it.
Yep, this year is going to be a prove-it year for Demario Douglas and for Kayshon Boutte. Well, basically for all of the draftees coming from the 2023 draft class, because if they can we know Christian Gonzalez is potentially going to get his extension unless something happens. But if all these players, including Keon White, Martin Mapu, Sidy Sow, Boutte, and Demario Douglas performs to play at somewhat like at least a Pro Bowl level, they could potentially get like their extensions to like at least 3 to 4 year deals, but not like these lucrative contracts.
There's also one other thing I have here from Taylor Kyles from Drake May, how he jokes that it feels like Edson Chisholm's caught like 50 passes since OTAs.
That's impressive. After Chisholm should at least make the roster, but we all know from Evan Lazard that he needs to perform well with them pads on.
At the very minimum, like he'll probably make the special team. Like he may not make it as a receiver, but maybe he'll make it somewhere on that special teams or something. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be. He could be like
all
our
I know.
special teamer.
All I know is if he hits the practice squad, he's gone. If he hits practice squad, he's gone. Somebody's taking him.
Yeah, we do not want that to happen. And besides, the wide receiver room is a little more competitive than whatever we had last season. So
yeah,
that's all I'm hoping for. But that's going to be it for today's live stream. And as you know, that tomorrow we will be back live at 6 p.m. I think around the same time, unless I could shift around like when I want to do the live stream, considering that tomorrow will actually be the final day of mandatory minicamp. As Mike Vrabel has reported, he will shorten the length from Wednesday to Tuesday. So it's going to be a 2-day mandatory minicamp, but Wednesday is when there's going to be like a media going to discuss some of like their what is it? I think Wednesday it says all the players will be at the facility, but there's going to be some like press conferences of Wednesday. So
yeah.
If there's
it's gonna be more of like a chill day, like the players just kind of like more like working with one another, kind of just like studying the playbook, doing press conferences, kind of just like meeting with the coaches more and stuff like that. From what I've gathered, at least.
And then after that, it's gonna be like a huge summer break for all these players. We all know Drake May is going to get engaged to his girlfriend. Excited for that! Congratulations to Drake May, and they will be back July 21st, 2025 for day one of Patriots training camp. So I will keep you updated with some of training camp content, and hopefully, and I'm praying that I attend to at least one of the training camp days. So you should be excited for that. But as usual, guys, please like this show. Thank you for watching this as always, and please subscribe to this channel because if you want to see more content like this, if you want to see the brand new Patriots Clubhouse, which consists of me, Dustin, Andy, and Austin, you should be excited because you don't want to miss some of the content we're going to be putting out. And if you don't want to miss them out, please turn on the notifications. It helps so you won't miss out anything. And as always, go Pats.
Go Pats.